Alright everyone, Joe Biden lost it in a haze of dementia again. Link in the description if you want to check that out. It's such a regular thing at this point. I'm beginning to wonder if at least some Democrats don't have potentially a plan to contest Joe Biden being the nominee. Of course, he hasn't officially been declared to be so. He's the de facto nominee. I mean, he's got no opponents at the moment. The last one suspended his campaign and endorsed him. He's got the endorsement of the entire field. The problem for the Democrats is I know that they know that he's not doing well, like in a cognitive sense, but the only thing they can do is try to cover that up and pretend that it's a conspiracy theory to suggest that a person who has this problem on a near daily basis at this point has cognitive issues. That's all they can do because unless he has a more severe health crisis, like he flings poo around or has a stroke, they can't really justify pulling him out because he's already won the race essentially. At the 11th hour, somebody could call and crawl into the race and say, okay, well, Joe Biden technically doesn't have a delegate clinch. At the convention, he might not because the DNC, here's the secret. The DNC has already stated that states that move their primaries may lose their official delegate status. That is, the super delegates still are in effect, but the regular delegates that are allocated by a person winning or not winning the race in a proportional manner wouldn't actually count. They won't be seated, essentially. If this happens, almost half the states did that. And Bernie Sanders did technically get enough delegates, so there's probably a reason he just suspended his campaign instead of officially dropping. Because what's going to happen is they might not even have an official convention. If such a thing happens and the DNC rewrites its rules, they could try to screw Joe Biden. They could say, look, the dude doesn't even know where he fucking is half the time. We can't field him against Trump. He will lose. It's entirely possible. By the way, the Democrats are going to clamor to cancel the debates in the general election. You watch. They're going to try to cancel the debates. They're going to try to cancel all campaigning. They're going to try to have a non-election because they want to hide Joe Biden or whoever the candidate is and shield them from Trump. It's a really dirty political game they're playing. Why do you think that they've got people all riled up and they're trying to make people so afraid of coronavirus? Why do you think it's all Joe Biden talks a fucking about? Why do you think Bernie ruminates on it all the time? There's a reason that they love this issue. They love the fact that there's a pandemic. That plus economic damage. There's a reason that they've mobilized their state-level apparatuses to try to hold out and keep the country closed up as much as possible. They don't want a rebounding economy. They don't want to admit that Trump was right, and they certainly don't want Joe Biden to have to be on a live debate stage. Whether it's from the comfort of their own homes. It'd be funny if they have a debate, but they don't have anyone actually physically there, and it's just two big screens with respectively Trump and Biden on them talking over each other. That would be interesting optics now, wouldn't it? Why don't they get a couple of those little robots like they make in Japan, and they have a little screen with a face on it, and just have their faces instead? Why don't they just have a robotic debate? They can even have a robotic audience with, the legacy media sitting in the front row. Yeah, you won't be able to tell the difference. They're robotic enough already, and they're already soulless. Joe Biden's literally demented, though. Fucking take a look at this video. There are two optical problems that Biden has. The first is that we've got hundreds of pictures and videos of him fondling women, and the second is that we got hundreds of clips, instances of him not knowing what the fuck he's talking about. Oh, with life, liberty, and the thing, he says weird shit. It's the optics of him doing that on a live debate stage, since he has trouble doing this when he's sitting in the comfort of his own office with his wife in a nice comfy surrounding in a nice informal setting. He still has problems getting the words out, speaking more than 4 or 5 sentences before he has a major fumble. When he's antagonized, when Trump attacks him and his record, and possibly the Me Too thing, the allegations against him. When Trump drags all of the mud out and starts flinging it around, like he likes to do, and manhandles Joe Biden, and Biden's under pressure and has to respond in real time, what's he gonna fucking do? He's gonna goddamn break down into a stuttering mess. At the very least, a stuttering mess, if not an outright demented mess. And that's how he loses the election. Look, Trump needs to swing maybe 4% of the voting public in order to win the election at this point. I know there was a story earlier, well, the Trump bounce is officially over. His approval is down to 43. Well, again, look at an aggregate, not a single poll. And while his approval is down several points, it was already breaking his own ceiling. He's just regressing to his long-term mean. He'll climb back up. Specifically, once the economy starts to repair itself when things open back up. That's what the Dems are worried about. Trump has probably elevated his long-term floor through his pandemic response. They're fucking terrified of that. and they don't want Joe Biden debating because he's got dementia. It's not a conspiracy theory. He's got cognitive decline. Can we just admit that when a person forgets who they are, where they are, what year it is, and they're in their mid-70s, there might be a mental issue involved? Not many people make it to their mid-70s without some degree of faculty decline regardless. In his case, it is severe. Look at videos of him from 10 years ago and match them up with the ones that we have today from this particular campaign and tell me there's not a fucking goddamn difference. That's about all. Peace out.